Cinema Classics is brought to you by the Gateway Film Center at 1550 North High Street. Further details and showtimes are online at gatewayfilmcenter.com.
The award-winning Cinema Classics is produced by John DeSando and Johnny DiLoretto. Listen to the shows online at wcbe.org. I'm John DeSando.
And I'm Johnny DiLoretto. This is Cinema Classics at the Gateway Film Center.
Yes, sir.
And coming up, John, as part of our Cinema Classics brunch series, we have something I'm almost as excited about this one as I was about Raging Bull last year.
Oh, okay.
This is Annie Hall.
I'm excited about Breathless, which we had last time.
Yeah.
But I got you with Annie Hall.
Yeah.
Now that's special for you because you were a big-time Woody Allen fan.
Right. Well, this is the movie. This movie changed my life. When I was a young teenager, I stumbled upon Annie Hall on television, and I started watching it, and I was quickly sucked in. I actually just couldn't believe what I was seeing. And what I was seeing was, even though I don't look like Woody Allen, I'm much better looking, I share a lot of the same neuroses
Oh, yeah.
as Woody Allen. And it was the first time I had seen my anxieties reflected on screen. And I was like, I just couldn't believe that there was a guy that felt the same way and had the same sort of neuroses and anxieties. And that was it. That opened the floodgates, and I became a huge Woody Allen fan.
And it was really a new direction for romantic comedies. I mean, when I look at Breakfast at Tiffany's, which is one of my favorites, it's very highly structured. When I look at Woody's film, Annie Hall,
Yeah.
it seems to open up possibilities of just digression. It doesn't mean it has to have a linear plot. And he sets it up so beautifully in that first shot, I think, as I remember. He's breaking the fourth wall,
Yeah.
talking right to the camera.
Exactly.
And all those neuroses that you're talking about, which are so charming.
I wouldn't want to belong to any club that would have me as a member. Which is an old Groucho Marx joke. Which is perfect, this Groucho Marx kind of analogy, because the movie, like the Marx Brothers films that Woody Allen loved so much, is anarchic, like the Marx Brothers films. He breaks the fourth wall in the opening shot. There are flashbacks scattered throughout.
Yes.
He pulls Marshall McLuhan out of a line to address the camera at one point. There's animation. There's
right.
a little bit of everything in this movie, and he's, most people would think, it was a risk to do all this kind of stuff because the movie could have seemed scatterbrained or scattershot, and yet every one of those things is in service of delivering this heartbreaking romance to us.
And he's already, I think, been in this romance and out of it with her in real life, with Diane Keaton in real life.
Yeah.
One of the things I like is that I feel Woody's authentic with me.
Mm-hmm.
That what he's presenting here, while he's Albie Singer,
Yeah.
but this has to be Woody Allen at the same time.
Right.
And I just love the fact that it has such a personal touch to it. And because I'd seen it for so many years on television, particularly on The Tonight Show, I loved his shtick. I loved all of that self-deprecation, all of that uncertainty behind what I thought to be probably a genius, and he turns out to be.
Yeah.
And then on the screen, it's not quite Woody, but boy, it's about as close as it can be, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, it's really great. What I love about Woody Allen is this. He says he's not, but he is an intellectual. He's somebody that reads the philosophers and reads the classic novels and wrestles personally and in his work with the big themes.
Oh yeah.
And yet there's this juvenile quality to him, this absurd quality. He's not afraid of a non sequitur or a silly joke, and that's what I love, because even though you have this really sort of smart, sophisticated comedy going on, you also just have this guy who's just silly. And to me, that combination is really powerful.
Well, the word for me is he's completely unpretentious. And he doesn't have to brag one bit about his wit or his intelligence because it's apparent. But unlike pedantics, such as the guy in the line for the show, and that is blowing hard at the girlfriend about something that Woody shows him to know nothing about, which is Marshall McLuhan.
Right.
I mean, Woody just is that, and when we accept it. The other thing is, Woody is so downright homely that you're constantly struggling.
Well, he's like E.T. He's so
Yes.
ugly, he's cute.
I know, and you're wondering.
And he's
how-
endearing.
How does he get girls?
Well, he did. I mean, let's not forget that Woody Allen was romanced some of the great beauties in
Ah.
the '70s, including Diane Keaton.
Yeah.
And as you pointed out, what's so great, and you know, their comedy chemistry was so amazing,
Yeah.
that even though their romance had faltered and ended, and that their friendship endured, and that they were able to make this movie together. And I mean, how great is that you're making a movie with your ex-girlfriend about how great an ex-girlfriend she is?
Yes, and you know, he's got some scenes in there which are absolutely unforgettable. I think when he's cooking, isn't that the one where he has the lobsters?
Yes.
And he's struggling with these.
Yeah, it's great. This is such a funny movie, but also such a heartbreaking movie. And there's so many, I think for people who haven't seen this movie, it will be a revelation to them to see a relationship revealed in this comedic way and yet so startlingly human. There's a scene where Woody and Diane, where Alvy and Annie break up, and it's one of the multiple breakups that they go through. And she calls him over to kill a spider
Oh, yes.
at her apartment. And he
Great.
goes over and he's like
I
all
love this.
preoccupied with the spider, and he's like, oh, there's a spider the size of a Buick in there. And she's just sitting around, and then finally he does the job, and he comes back, and she's sitting on the bed, and she's crying. And he says, what's the matter? And she says, I miss you. And it's like this moment of defeat, but she's crying and she has to admit it. And that to me is so powerful. It's heartbreaking.
Well, it confirmed for me that there are women in the world who don't care about what a man looks like, don't care about how jaunty and cavalier and romantic he can be. A man with Woody Allen's personality and wit can win almost any woman. But I have two questions for you.
Yeah.
First of all, how does this size up against what I think to be the most popular romantic comedy of the last few years? And that would be Silver Linings Playbook.
Okay.
How does it, how do you put those two together and say, what's
You
the
don't.
difference? Okay.
Silver Linings Playbook, is nowhere near this.
All
This kind of achievement. Silver Linings Playbook was a smartly done, well acted romantic comedy with a little depth to it, but ultimately it was as well received as I think it was because it was just well executed.
Sure.
I don't think it's art. I don't think it's a classic like this film.
Well, it doesn't to me seem to have the depth of Annie Hall. It has a lot of fast-moving parts to it, really jaunty, terrific actors, but in the end it seems, by contrast, superficial. All right, then, please answer this question. How does Annie Hall stack up against Midnight in Paris?
Yeah. What do you mean? Midnight in Paris doesn't stack up to Annie Hall.
I'm just asking you.
Yeah.
You've got two romantic comedies
Right.
by the same director,
Yes.
40 years apart.
One is a shadow of the other. Midnight in Paris is Woody Allen, late era Woody Allen. We're talking Annie Hall is Woody Allen at the peak of his abilities, just 2 years before he makes his one of his other masterpieces, Manhattan. Annie Hall and Manhattan back to back are probably two of the finest achievements any American director can lay claim to. Midnight in Paris is a trifle. It's a joy, but it's a trifle.
Okay.
Ultimately, in his filmography.
Yeah, he has many elements, I think, in that which are classically romantic, going into the past, some beautiful jazz, the kind of sparring
Yeah.
partners, but
But I'll tell you what it lacks ultimately is Diane Keaton and Woody Allen.
Owen Wilson wasn't bad.
He was not bad. He's a great surrogate for
Yes,
Woody,
yes,
but
yes.
but he had no Annie Hall in there. He had no Diane Keaton. No. Part of what is amazing about Annie Hall, apart from everything we've already talked about, is that you essentially fall in love with her. I mean, I will say that as a male, but I believe that it happens to females too. You fall in love with that character. She's smart, she's vulnerable, she's fragile, she's tough, she's groping for something more in her life, and you want the relationship to work, but you want it to work for yourself. She's endearing, and you love her.
It confirms for me that there's a time and a place for both the movie, its topic, its director, and its actors. And that comes together in 1977 in Annie Hall.
Yeah.
And when you come up to the present time, you can't do that again. Even Woody Allen can't do that again. As good as Midnight in Paris is, I suspect you're right. Is it a classic? I don't know.
Of course it's a classic. That's
What,
a silly
Midnight in
question.
Paris?
Oh, Midnight in Paris. I ultimately no. It's
And
not
I agree.
a classic. Just the way Silver Linings Playbook is not
Exactly.
a classic. But you're right. There's something that happens in that moment, 1977, where it was quintessentially New York. It was Woody Allen at the peak of his abilities. You had Diane Keaton, who was also a huge star at that point. After the Godfather films and the Woody Allen films that she'd made up into that point. And so it was a big crossover hit, much the way Midnight in Paris was.
So when can they see Annie Hall?
What a great question. You can and must see it on Sunday, May 4th at the Gateway Film Center. We're going to have brunch in the Torpedo Room at noon.
Yummy.
You can show up for that anytime you want, but the movie starts at 2 p.m.
And we'll be there to talk with you.
Absolutely.